Nadeem, Deepika Bora, Nutan, and their mentor Namrata Chaturvedi. Okay, so
Next one. All right. Yeah, so I would like to call the team from Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gorakhpur University with the mentor Dr. Swarnima Singh along with the members Neha Gupta, Shribhadra Hit, Durganjan Jal Jaiswal and Shreya Malviya.
Thank you. A very pleasant afternoon to every members present over here. Myself, Shreya Malviya, and my team are so grateful to get such an awesome chance to deliver our thoughts and views on the Earth Day through this platform. I would start my presentation by a question. Have you ever wondered today how negatively the environment is impacted through the anthropogenic activities? Well, climate change, global warming, the rise of sea levels, the loss of biodiversity, oceanic acidification, etc. are the results of the harsh anthropogenic activities. On my landscape, there is the hope of the power of human consciousness drive to change. Here in our presentation, we embark to unravel the intricate web of anthropogenic activities and seeking solution to foster a greener and healthier future generation. The objective of our presentation is to deliver the relevance of four Vedas and look for the scope of implementing the Vedic knowledge to current scenario. The anthropogenic activities are aligned with the principle of sustainability and harmony with the nature. For instance, the concept of ahimsa, the worship of medicinal trees, the eco-dharma concept, with these all are expanded to not just humans but also animals and the environment. Similarly, the culture of yagna that is still prevalent in our society today. Through this, the medicinal fumes emanating and have been observed by the researchers in the microbiology field that it is bacterial static in nature, which means it eradicates the bacteria and microorganisms from the environment. Hence, this proof that Vedic culture and modern science are complementary to each other and can go hand in hand. Moving ahead in our upcoming slides, the SWOT analysis, the research hypothesis, and the t-test to prove the research hypothesis will be explained further so that it could be easy to substantiate and give more clarity to you all. And yes, the ecological consciousness could be held by the human activities will be proved. To sum up my words, I would ask Durga to explain the further slides.
Thank you, Shreya, as he gave us a glimpse of the further slides. Now I would like to carry forward and present the primary data and the anthropogenic activities, which took place in the last decade since our research topic pivoted around the anthropogenic activities and how they impact the physical world around us. Firstly, I would like to explain what is anthropogenic activities. Now, anthropogenic activities refer to the human actions or activities which impact the natural environment. We have come across numerous instances such as Bisnoy movement, Chipko movement, Save Silent Valley movement, Epico movement, Narmada Bachao, and Jungle Bachao Abhiyan. All of them are concerned with the protection of the various aspects of the nature. Moving on the first type of data, which is primary data. Our primary data reference revolve around the references taken from ancient India, such as Prithvi Sukta, Kautilya's Arthashastra, Ausudhya Kutumbakam. That means whole earth is our family. and are the four Vedas. Rig Vedas, the first Veda, explain various deities, Mitra, Varuna, and Indra, who are responsible for maintaining the balancing functioning of our entities, nature like hills, mountains, lakes, and earth. Here in this presentation, we have shown how differences books have mentioned ecological awareness and need to preserve natural resources. Vedas perceive that any change in nature are caused due to the indiscrete human activity and which result is imbalance in weather, rainfall patterns, crop, and maybe pollute earth, air, and water bodies. The Vedas, that is Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Ajur Veda, pursue the importance of maintenance of the season cycles that are likely to get altered due to the climate change owing to inappropriate human actions. Now I would like to say Sriratri forward about our next slide. The secondary data and methodology will be explained to her.
Thank you, Durganjali. So, as she explained that how ancient Vedic texts and scriptures emphasize the importance of safeguarding the earth and the environment, concepts like harmony with nature, protection of environmental assets, and humans as caretakers of the earth have been laid stressed on. Now, next is the secondary data. For the secondary data, the team has analyzed various reports, articles, and journals. As a country with the largest population, achievement of progress in sustainable development goals will leave its imprint on the progress of achieving sustainable development goals globally. Last year, on April 22, the PM launched a movement named as LIFE, also known as Lifestyle for the Environment Movement. The PM stressed on the fact that the need of the hour is to solve the challenges faced by the planet using human centric collective efforts and robust actions encouraging sustainable development. Further, in the upcoming slides are about SWOT analysis. Before diving into the topic, let us first understand the meaning of SWOT analysis. SWOT is a strategic planning tool used to identify and interpret the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of a project. In a project, we have applied SWOT to the reference text. When we collectively talk about the strengths of Vedic texts, they include profound philosophical insights, tapestry of rich spiritual teachings encompassing various aspects of life and society. Understanding and interpreting the weaknesses of the reference text includes difficulty in understanding Vedic Sanskrit, which may be a barrier for modern readers. Collaborations among scholars from various fields may deepen understanding and uncover new insights within ancient texts, can be looked upon as an opportunity. Lastly, misinterpretation and misuse for political agendas can be recognized as a threat. After the SWOT analysis of referent text, I will be presenting the SWOT interpretation of our entire project. The strengths of our research project are: this project integrates elements of history, anthropology, sociology, environmental issues, enhancing its depth and relevance. Contrasting ancient and modern approaches allows a comprehensive understanding of environmental consciousness. Next are its weaknesses, enforcement challenges, and lack of comprehensive historical records. Its opportunities are as follows. It serves as a bridge between past and present. This research could contribute to curriculum development. Lastly, the threats are: conducting comprehensive research across different historical periods may require significant time and funding. Historical practices may face skepticism or opposition from those who prioritize modern approaches. Thank you, and over to Neha.
Thank you, Sriratri. Now I will be presenting the subsequent part of our research work, which is the research hypothesis. Our research hypothesis
posits that ancient civilization exhibits sophisticated ecological knowledge, behaviors, and philosophies to contribute sustainable interaction with nature environment. The hypothesis which we are using in research work is feedback impact hypothesis and behavioral change hypothesis. The feedback impact hypothesis is supported by various historical, cultural, and technological dimensions. Coming on to the next topic, which is the behavioral change hypothesis. This hypothesis underscores the idea of specific behavior rooted to the culture which contributes ecological consciousness and positive environmental outcomes. To further analyze our hypothesis, we have prepared a questionnaire regarding the view of local masses and conducted a survey among a sample of 20 people. At last, we have done a hypothesis test with the help of students' t-test to statistically prove our research work. Here's a breakdown of our t-test which compares the mean of two groups so to see that the difference of each other, they are different from each other. Beginning by restating the null and alternative hypothesis in our study, computing the values and the formula, we get the value of t calculated value and t tabulated value. After comparing and analyzing the data, we get the t calculated and t tabulated value, which implies that null hypothesis is not rejected and there is no specific evidence to claim that there is a difference in ecological consciousness level compared to assumed population mean. For further research, conducting follow-up studies with larger diverse sample could help to validate and enhance the current findings. The scope of our further research could help in complementing quantitative assessment with qualitative assessment to deepen understanding and ancient Indian ecological ideals and behavior, to bridge the historical knowledge with modern sustainable challenge. I'd like to conclude by saying that today the environmental problem in our country are overrising. The development and growing population have imparted us negligence when it comes to environment, and it is very necessary that we address this issue before they become filthy and in turn submerge our already fragile relation with nature. Needless to say that modern society is rational and believes in logic and science. The circumstance has forced humans to detach themselves from nature and spirituality. It is high time that we should understand the value of nature and reference of ancient texts on protection and the existence of humankind. Our Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gorakhpur University is a live example to emphasize upon the ecological consciousness. For example, the Green Campus Initiative, the Zero Waste Management Program, and No Vehicle Day, all these initiatives stress the importance of ecological consciousness through human-induced activities. Thank you. Happy Earth Day. 1 second. We have dedication. Now the room is open for the interaction. No question?
Now we have the team from ICSSR-NRC, University of Delhi, comprising of Abhinav, Nadeem, Deepika Bora, Nutan, and their mentor, Namrata Chaturvedi.
Greetings, everyone. Happy Earth Day to the jury and everyone present here. We're from the Zakir Hussain Delhi College team, and we're all first years from English honors and history honors. And we'll be presenting on the topic, what Yaksha's love teaches us about ecological emotional intelligence, reading Meghaduta in Manipuri. And we'll be reading from Meghdut in both Manipuri and Sanskrit texts and learn from the ecological consciousness of these texts.
The Indian literature has beautifully intertwined the nature and literature and thereby reflecting a profound ecological consciousness. In Meghdut by Kalidas, Kalidas represents and describes various beautiful landscapes, natural sceneries, and changing of seasons through the story of Yaksha. Yaksha is basically a character who is stripped of his title and separated from his beloved lover. So, because of this reason, he chooses a lake, that is a cloud, to be his messenger, to convey his message to his beloved. And on its way, the cloud witnesses changing of seasons and beautiful natural landscapes. And through this, Kalidas constructs a divine relationship between the human and the natural world. The similar ideas can also be found in the Ramayana. Ramayana describes the symbiotic relationship between the human, the natural world, and the animal world, along with this significant in our daily lives. Another example can also be found in the Khanda Thaibi folktales of Manipur that are associated with the Loktak Lake. Loktak Lake is the largest freshwater lake of Manipur, of Northeast India, and holds cultural significance for the state of Manipur, which is a part of our research. The folktale celebrates the union of love and environment through the ecology of Manipur. For example, the gulai tree, which is known as Harithkram in Manipur, it is considered as a storehouse for divine spirits, and it is not cut because of this reason. And gulai tree also finds mention in Meghdut.
Okay, so the gular tree is tree is also known as Odambara in Sanskrit and Haibong in Manipuri. And this tree has many ecological and mythical significances. Right, it is the tree that's mentioned with Shiva, Lord Shiva. And in the thing about we're connecting ecology with literature through the gular tree, as it is the gular tree where it is believed that yakshas resided under the gular tree, and Kuber, the king of yakshas, gave prayers to the gular tree, and it is through this that through Kuber that the yaksha of Meghaduta is separated from his beloved.
So the objectives of our research is first to explore the themes of ecological consciousness in Meghdut through the Manipuri and Sanskrit texts. Second, to research on the cultural heritage of Northeast India associated with natural philosophy. Third, to depict the ancient roots and forms of environmental consciousness reflected by Sanskrit literary sources.
Okay, so coming to the research methodology, through an comparative analysis of the ancient and ecological texts like Meghdut by Kalidasa, we have come through these three questions. And the first question is, what is the ecological link between ancient India and now, then and now? And the second question is that what have we learned from ecological consciousness of studying texts like Meghdut by Kalidasa? And the third question is that what was the link between ecology and ancient Indian literature? So this is the research questions of our presentation.
As for the research findings, from our research we found that the ecological consciousness in ancient India was in synchronicity with shared philosophy and lived cosmology. Along with the perspective of Manipur, an example of Loktak Lake, we see that the links and relationship between the literature, the philosophy, and the living practices have degraded over time.
So now coming to comparative textual analysis, Kalidas' writing expresses the idea of nature affecting both human and non-human world. The intimacy between the cloud and yaksha has shown this connection. Here we have compared some verses of Meghaduta in Sanskrit, its very popular translation in English by M.R. Kale, and a very lesser known translation by Mangisena in Manipuri. So Dhuma Jyotiha Salil Marutam Sanyapata Kava Megha. In this line of Meghdut, the vaporized form of water is described as blue and pure, which indicates the pollution-free state of water and also shows the ecological consciousness. Yaksha treats the cloud as an animated person who will move and give message to Yaksha's beloved wife. Also, the Kalidas used the changing of season to indicate the emotional and ecological intelligence. Like the changing of Ritu in the poem reflects the cyclic nature of life, also the passage of time. The changing of seasons in the poem are used by a poet as metaphors to show the yaksha's emotional state, like Marge Tavachoran Kathastu Taparaya Nanurupam Sandesham Me Tadin Jalad Shrosyachi Shotrapayam. Clouds gives us life by giving water. So Yaksha believes that the one who gives life will protect his beloved by giving his message to her. This also shows that the Yaksha's love for her is intertwined with the concept of Sringaras and the concept of nature.
Similarly, in the Manipuri translation by Mangi Sanal, in the late 1990s, we wanted to show that the ancient translation, ancient text, which is in Sanskrit, and M.R. Kale's translation, which was in the past, to compare it with the now, with the then, and with the then of the past and the now of Mangi Sanal's 1990s translation. So it goes, lang na marubas lang may paigum, amar ko chingi chingdol yaw bada, amun ba hayrang na masana yom do, hayno, pambay sing na tanba amarkut. It means the peak of Amarkut Hills, dark like silky black hair, is full of trees whose branches are ripe with ripened mangoes. And it shows the relation between the poetic emotion and the natural geography in the text.
Next slide. Okay, so coming to the ecological halo vision, we have already discussed about Loktak Lake in the introduction part, which is connected with the Kamathobi legend of Manipur. But however, I'm sorry to say that we have far distance from the natural world, as the Loktak Lake today stands as a beautiful reminder of our collective ability towards the environment. The once holy water now stands now is facing the burden of artificial infrastructure, roads, and other threatening by illegal encroachments. So the ecological consciousness has been fading away, replaced by a pursuit of material gains. Now, coming to the very famous island, which is famous for being the largest river island in the world, which is Majuli Island of Assam, which is currently endangered. Of its history, the legend says that when someone needed something in the Majuli Island, they would go to the nearby wetland, which is called Veal, and they would pray to the water god, which is called Devta, and they would get whatever they want. Right? So even today, it is known as the Bhakti Veal, which means the wetland of devotion. So the unfortunate thing is that the lack of water circulation and flood irrigation leads to the shrinkage of water bodies of the island.
Now, what we have learned from our research, we learned that interacting with the environment creates an emotional connection between nature and our coexistence. For example, we can take the example of worshipping of cow by the people of rural India. It can be seen as an example of the ecological and emotional awareness of the people and a rational response to the ground condition of the rural society. Because for an agrarian population which is directly dependent on cattle as the only mean to plow their field, if they start feeding in the cattle for meat, it will lead to the devastation of the entire food chain, especially during the tough times of famines and drought. So we can say that the the worshipping of cow is an example of how people respond to the ecological and emotional awareness.
So the thing is that what can we do to solve these problems? So we should promote the literature that foster deep emotional consciousness with nature to inspire our policymakers and readers to make changes in our environment. We trust that by doing this, we can make people think that nature is not just resources, but it's also beauty, wonder, and spiritual nourishment. So I'm coming to Yamuna River. About Yamuna River, we have Yamuna River. We all know that it is a holy river for all the Indians, and its significance we all know that. So me and my teammate Abhinav has recently went to the Yamuna Ghat, which is known as Vasudha Ghat in Delhi, and experienced how the situation of Yamuna is happening there, and we have feeling very unfortunate by seeing the condition of the water of the Yamuna River. So one way of making people feeling regret about it is that by knowing them that the importance of our river, the Yamuna River, like this Yamuna RD project.
So let me tell you about some of our experiences at the Yamuna RT project. When we went to the Yamuna RT at Vasudev Ghat, we saw that the river was completely dying. We all know this. In Delhi, in this really, really polluted city, it felt like the city was dying. But when we went to see the Yamuna RT project, we felt that the river was being revived by this ceremony, by people surrounding everyone. So this is the how the ceremony is done, and this is the state of the river as we know it right now. And through our when we went there, we felt everyone was wanting, hoping that the mighty status of the Yamuna River can be restored. And through such projects like the Yamuna Aarti, which can be linked to like making people more ecologically conscious, more knowing of the river status, and pray and to worship the spiritual and literary connections of these rivers, we can hope that the river and projects like the Yamuna Aarti can help us, reinvigorate the spirit that we have with ourselves and our nature and our literature.
So, as for our conclusion, we have learned that the ancient Bharatiya literature represents the intrinsic harmony between the human and non-human elements of the nature. From our study of Meghaduta and our fieldwork to Yamuna Aarti, to the Yamuna Ghat, Vasudev Ghat in Delhi for Yamuna Aarti project, we have learned that over the years of social and intellectual disruption has to lead to serious alarming consequences by the loss of natural habitat also. But we can always reconnect with nature through reconnect with the nature through the study of literature like Meghaduta and Abhijana Shakuntalam of Kalidas.
Previous slide. So the picture we can see here is Majuli mask found in the Majuli island of Assam, located in the Brahmaputra river, and it is made of clay by the local artisans of Majuli Islands. So it gives us hopes of revival of the island, as it achieved recently this month, maybe March or April. It achieved the geographical indication GI. So we can hope that we can see that our policymakers, our government is noticing such unique existence of culture, and they are trying to revive it. So we can still hope to revive our culture and such existence. Many of such existence exist in Manipur also, like Loktak Lake, and in Assam also. There is various places there which is unique. So we can still pursue our policymakers to revive our environment in just a way that it was once in the ancient time. So one of the challenge we felt was reading Sanskrit texts, because any one of us is not from the Sanskrit department, and also we have met challenge in finding sources from Manipuri translation, because it is rarely available in Manipur. So here is our suggestions suggested by the jury members in our past presentations. And lastly, I would like to thank our scientific board members and jury members all present here to give such a suggestion and to get textual and references from both Manipuri and Sanskrit texts. So lastly, I want to greet all of you in Manipuri style, that is, thank you, Kurumjari, Namaste. Now we are open for questions. Can you just plug it up?
Thank you, team, for this wonderful presentation. Now, please welcome our next team from Hansraj College, University of Delhi, with the mentor, Dr. Monica Kaul. This team has Harshit Shukla, Shivam Kumar Singh, Amrit Srivastav, Shruti Gupta as members.
Distinguished judges, esteemed faculty, and my fellow participants, a very warm welcome to our presentation on blending ancient traditional knowledge of construction with modern methods, a way forward to curb dust pollution in India. As we are celebrating 54th World Earth Day, it is rightly stated that in a game of construction, every brick laid, every beam positioned is a step towards shaping a new world. With this, a very warm and pleasant morning to one and all. Next slide. as you can see, India is a developing country and construction is inevitable. So there are various environmental impacts due to construction activities. Increasing in particulate matters of 2.5 and 10 is leading to air pollution. Not only this, due to various construction activities and the machinery used, it is leading to noise pollution. And the sediments and the chemicals which is leading to water, causing water pollution. And it is also degrading the flora and the fauna of the region. Next slide, please. So here is the report by various state pollution control board and the central pollution control board that there is 23% of Chennai pollution is contributed by large scale construction activities. And not only this, about 70% Mumbai pollution is because of the construction activities. And 38% of PM10 rise is in Delhi because of the construction activities. So we can see there is a huge level of air pollution because of the construction activities. Next slide. So as students of life sciences and botany, we approached to understand the dust pollution from scientific perspective and to explore the quantum of dust pollution from the construction and the development activities. We also investigated the tribal construction techniques and how we can incorporate them into modern methods so we can curb dust pollution in India. Next slide, please. So what is the research hypothesis behind this? If the traditional construction techniques that is blended with the modern methods, then dust pollution, it can be reduced significantly. So how can we use plant products from plants rich in secondary metabolites, how it can be incorporated in the modern construction plans. So the basic construction techniques that can be strengthened. Now over to you, Shivam.
Next slide, please. So we basically divided our research finding in three major categories. The first one is the tribal concept of construction. The second one is the experiment we did, and the third one, the natural resources and plant resources that we use in our construction processes. So the first one, the tribal concept of construction, we majorly explore the three major zones of our country: the northeastern part, the southeastern part, and the western part. In northeastern part, the Misins, the Deoris, the Sunwal Kacharis, the prominent tribal of Assam, they built stilt houses which are majorly constructed with the help of bamboo, thatch, mud, cow dung, and these are basically developed with the help of natural resources, and these are not play any role in pollution, and there is no any mechanical machines or crushers used in this process. Next slide, please. So second zone, that is southeastern part of India. In this, the Kandhas, the tribal of Odisha, which built plank houses with the specific dimensions, in which they uses a dry wooden plank, and with the help of different muds, rammed earth, they polish their walls and roofs, which make their houses or thermos flats, which acts like it cools in summer and warm in winter. Next slide, please. And in third slide, as you can see, the western part of India, in Maharashtra, the tribal majorly resides in the ranges of Sahadri, Satpura, Gondwana, and in this the temperature majorly is scorching in the range of 40 to 45 degrees, and in the tribals of these areas know the harmful effects of construction that causes in our environment, so they uses eco-friendly materials to build their houses. And this eco-friendly material, as you can see, the carving, the wood, the rammed earth, straw bales, and cork. The next slide will be discussed by my friend Amrit.
As Shivam broadly classifies our research findings under three broad categories. First, the tribal concept of construction. Second, the experiment that we conducted, that will be explained by me. And the third, the plant products that we will be using. So I know audience is from interdisciplinary department, so I'll try to explain it in as an easy way as possible. So हम लोग ने एक बहुत
बहुत बेसिक से एक्सपेरिमेंट किया, मैं आपको बताने की कोशिश करता हूँ। हम लोग पूरे दिल्ली का टूर किए एंड कई हम लोगों ने जगह देखा कि कहीं कंस्ट्रक्शन हो रहा था, कहीं ज्यादा हो रहा था, कहीं कम हो रहा था। तो हमने हर एक साइट से प्लांट मटेरियल्स को कलेक्ट किया। अब जाहिर सी बात है कि अगर प्लांट मटेरियल्स कंस्ट्रक्शन साइट से कलेक्ट हो रहे हैं तो उनके ऊपर डस्ट पार्टिकल्स की लेयर होगी। तो हम लोग जब उनको कलेक्ट करके अपने लैब में लाए तो हमने उन्हीं लीव्स, उन्हीं जो प्लांट मटेरियल है उसको डिस्टिल्ड वाटर से धोया। डिस्टिल्ड वाटर मतलब उसमें कोई अदर कंटामिनेंट्स नहीं थे। और धोने के बाद हमने अलग अलग प्लांट्स का जो सॉइल सस्पेंशन बना, मतलब जो सॉइल बना, उसको डिफरेंट डिफरेंट बीकर्स में कलेक्ट किया। उसके बाद हमने ऑब्जर्व किया कि क्योंकि डिफरेंट डिफरेंट जगह से प्लांट लिए थे तो कुछ बीकर में जो डेंसिटी थी, जो कलर था वो ज्यादा आ रहा है, कुछ में वो कलर इतना नहीं आ रहा है। तो हमने टर्म डिफाइन किया टर्बिडिटी। इसी को मतलब साइंटिफिक वे में टर्बिडिटी कह देते हैं। जो क्लाउडीनेस, जो धुंधलापन बन रहा था वो किसी में ज्यादा था, किसी में कम था। ऐसा क्यों हुआ? क्योंकि प्लांट्स में एक ऐसा टेक्निक होती है कि वो जो डस्ट पार्टिकल्स होते हैं उनको अपने सरफेस पे एब्जॉर्ब कर सकते हैं। एब्जॉर्ब मतलब बस स्टिक कर सकते हैं, जिसकी वजह से वो सराउंडिंग का डस्ट पोल्यूशन कम करते हैं। तो जिस बीकर में जितनी ज्यादा टर्बिडिटी आएगी, इसका मतलब वो प्लांट उतना ज्यादा डस्ट पोल्यूशन को अपने अंदर एब्जॉर्ब कर रहा था। इसका मतलब वो प्लांट उतना ज्यादा अच्छे से डस्ट पोल्यूशन को कंट्रोल कर रहा था। अच्छा, नाउ यू माइट बी वंडरिंग कि ये जो स्टिक करने की प्रॉपर्टी है ये कहां से आती है। तो यहां पे मैं एक टर्म डिफाइन करना चाहूंगा, सेकेंडरी मेटाबोलाइट्स। तो सेकेंडरी मेटाबोलाइट्स जो प्लांट होता है उसकी डे टू डे एक्टिविटी प्राइमरी मेटाबॉलिज्म से सिंथेसाइज होने वाले प्रोडक्ट्स होते हैं, जो कि उसकी ग्रोथ और डेवलपमेंट में मदद नहीं करते, बस वो उसको प्रेडेटर्स जैसे काउज हो गई, वो ईट उसको कर ले, उससे बचाते हैं। तो ये सेकेंडरी मेटाबोलाइट्स, जैसा कि आपने देखा होगा कि कई बार लीव्स के ऊपर छोटे छोटे रोए होते हैं, छोटे छोटे बाल होते हैं। तो वो जो बाल होता है वो एक वैक्सी, आपने कई बार देखा होगा शाइनी लीफ सरफेस दिखता है। तो वो जो छोटे छोटे बाल होते हैं वो इन वैक्सेस, गम्स को, यही जो सेकेंडरी मेटाबोलाइट्स होते हैं, क्यूटिकल जैसा आपने सुना होगा, एक लेयर, स्टिकी लेयर, उसको सिक्रीट करते हैं, जिसकी वजह से डस्ट पार्टिकल्स स्टिकीनेस की वजह से आके उस पर अटैच हो जाते हैं। एंड उसी की वजह से जब हम लोग उसको वॉश करते हैं तो उसकी टर्बिडिटी बढ़ जाती है। द प्लांट्स, उसकी इस पूरा एक्सपेरिमेंट को कंडक्ट करने के बाद हमने फाइनली 3 प्लांट शॉर्टलिस्ट किए जिनकी हमारी टर्बिडिटी ज्यादा थी, एंड वी फाइंड कि वो प्लांट्स सबसे बेस्ट रहेंगे। द प्लांट्स वर बैम्बू पाम प्लांट, अरिका पाम एंड स्पाइडर प्लांट। हम लोग ने उनको क्यों सेलेक्ट किया? क्योंकि वो दिल्ली में इजीली अवेलेबल थे, क्योंकि हमारे एक्सपेरिमेंट्स कंडक्ट करने के लिए आसान होगा। उसके बाद वो इजी टू मेंटेन एंड केयर थे। एंड उसके बाद मेन था कि हमारा जो आज का एम है कि हम लोग कैसे अपनी रिसर्च फाइंडिंग्स को ब्लेंड कर सकते हैं मॉडर्न मटेरियल्स के साथ। तो हमने ये देखा कि इनमें सेकेंडरी मेटाबोलाइट जैसे टैनिन्स और उसमें फाइबर्स, जो छाल होती है, फाइबर्स, वो भी प्रेजेंट थे। तो हमने क्या सोचा कि जो मॉडर्न मिट्टी के जो ब्रिक्स बनते हैं उसमें मिट्टी के साथ इन फाइबर्स को भी किसी तरह इन्फ्यूज अगर किया जा सके तो क्या पता इन ब्रिक्स में भी वो डस्ट पोल्यूशन को कैच करने की एबिलिटी आ जाए, जिसकी वजह से वो पोल्यूशन कम करें। तो हम लोग ने सिर्फ इसका सोचा नहीं, हमने इसका एक्सपेरिमेंट कंडक्ट भी किया। जैसा कि आप देख सकते हैं, ब्रिक्स जो कि कंक्रीट की बनी थी उनकी प्रॉपर्टीज, और जो हमने पाम लीव्स और लॉन ग्रास को करके बनाया, जो उनको यूज करके बनाया, उनकी जो प्रॉपर्टीज है उनको डिस्कस किया गया है। एंड द फर्स्ट इवन हमारे टर्बिडिटी एक्सपेरिमेंट का जो प्रोबेबिलिटी है उसका कैलकुलेशंस है, उनका वो है। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। द थर्ड ब्रॉड कैटेगरी जो कि मैंने बोला था, वो प्लांट बेस्ड मटेरियल्स। तो जो प्लांट बेस्ड मटेरियल्स होते हैं उनको हम लोग, जो कि हमारे बेसिक आजकल एक्सटेंसिवली यूज हो रहा है, जैसे हेमक्रीट हो गया, फंगस का माइसीलियम हो गया, शीर का वूल हो गया इंसुलेटिंग के लिए, उसको हम लोग कैसे ब्लेंड कर सकते हैं ट्रेडिशनल आर्किटेक्चर से, और हमारी रिसर्च फाइंडिंग जैसे हम लोग ने एक ब्रिक बनाया उसको कैसे यूज कर सकते हैं आर्किटेक्चर में, दैट विल बी एक्सप्लेन बाय माय फ्रेंड हर्षित।
Next slide. So guys, after 7 months of presentations, after 5 rounds of grueling presentations, we have reached to the point where I can discuss my conclusion, the team of conclusion of our team, that we have 3 pillars of our work. First one explained by Shivam, the tribe construction, which is the core of our work. Second thing, the experiment we did, explained by Amrit. And third thing, the natural products. Now, I would like to grab your attention towards this slide, Here you can see that why we chose these three things. We had a lot of things to actually choose, but we choose these things because first of all, you would have probably been knowing about the SDG goals. The 9th and 11th are dedicated towards the infrastructure and the sustainable cities. Now you can see the tribal construction actually avoids noise pollution and it doesn't require crushing and mixing of concrete, whereas the bamboo and erica palm that we chose, they are also giving strength to the construction and also they are against natural calamities. The secondary metabolites that Amrit discussed, they had the property to actually curb down the air pollution, and dust pollution also contributes towards the air pollution, which actually causes 1 out of 10 deaths globally. Now, I would like to ask you a question. What are the 3 major desires of a man? If anybody wants to answer, he can answer, he or she can answer. What are the 3 major desires of a man? Roti kapda makan. I was thinking that कोई बोलेगा कि MP सीट, MLA सीट और राज्यसभा सीट, क्योंकि अभी पॉलिटिक्स आ रहा है, लेकिन रोटी कपड़ा मकान. मैं UGRA का और शहीद भगत सिंह कॉलेज का धन्यवाद करना चाहूंगा. उन्होंने हमें ये अवसर दिया कि ये जो 3 चीजें हैं ना, उनमें से जो तीसरी चीज है मकान, और अगर आप हिंदी फिल्म में देखते होंगे तो हीरो की एंट्री लास्ट में होती है, तो यही है हमारा हीरो. ये वो कंस्ट्रक्शन है जो हमने तैयार किया है इन द फॉर्म ऑफ अ 2D मॉडल. इसमें हर वो चीजें जो मैंने डिस्कस की, ट्राइबल कंस्ट्रक्शन है, इसमें नेचुरल प्रोडक्ट्स है, कॉर्क है, हेम्पक्रीट है, माइसीलियम है, इंसुलेशन है, और इसमें हमारे एक्सपेरिमेंट से किए गए जो प्लांट्स है वो भी हैं. थैंक यू वेरी मच. Any questions, any suggestions? Yes.
So I have a question. That since India has a lot of population and constructing multi-story buildings is the need of the hour, so how peaceful is your idea considering India's population?
बिकॉज ये तो आपकी बात एकदम सही है कि बिकॉज बट यू कैन सी द पोल्यूशन ऑल्सो दैट इज गोइंग ऑन एंड टॉकिंग अबाउट हाउ विल बी कंस्ट्रक्टेड दैट फ्रेंच गवर्नमेंट ने इसको ऑलरेडी लागू कर दिया है. 50% ऑफ द पब्लिक बिल्डिंग्स जो हैं वो फ्रेंच गवर्नमेंट ने कहा है कि अब से बायो बेस्ड मटीरियल्स की ही बननी चाहिए. तो कहीं ना कहीं से हम लोग को ये इनिशिएटिव उठाना पड़ेगा. पॉपुलेशन इज एस्पेक्ट, बट कहीं ना कहीं से हम लोग को इकोलॉजिकल सस्टेनेबिलिटी के बारे में भी तो देखना पड़ेगा कि हम लोग कैसे उसको सस्टेनेबल बना रहे हैं. अगर पॉपुलेशन बढ़ेगी तो पॉपुलेशन ढंग से रह पाए, पॉपुलेशन अच्छे एनवायरनमेंट में रह पाए, वो भी तो देखना जरूरी है. तो हम लोग उसको यहाँ पे एड्रेस करना चाहते हैं.
Are any of the plants that you chose are indigenous to Delhi?
Yeah, all 3 of them are found in Delhi.
Erica palm is indigenous to Delhi.
Not indigenous, found.
None of them are indigenous to Delhi environment. All 3 of them.
But since it can be grown in the pots and
It can be grown, but they have all been brought to Delhi.
Yes, sir.
None of them are indigenous plants.
When we got onto the voyage, we just discovered that what are found in Delhi, and they are commonly found in homes, indoors में वो मिल जाते हैं. तो it is easy to find and it is easy to
Do
spot.
you have pictures of the bricks that you made?
We do have a picture. We do have made these bricks, but because हम लोग अभी उनको they are not very durable and मतलब ये उनकी durability पे question है, तो हम लोग उस पे अभी भी work कर रहे हैं. Because sir, studies and उसके studies and exams की वजह से we are still working on it, and as soon as we get positive results, we'll contact you.
It was a great presentation. Let's welcome the next team from Bhagatram College, University of Delhi, with the mentor Dr. Anna Sendran. The team members are Isha Dagar, Isra Mariam, Anya Bhargava, and Aditi Anand.
Just wait for a second.
You will be moving.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, respected dignitaries and everyone present here. We are from Harithkram College, mentored under Dr. Anna Senrang. I'm Isha Dagar.
Myself is Mariam.
I am Amya Bhargav. Topic of our study is eco-spirituality in India.
It's not changing. It's not changing.
I guess the laptop froze. Yes. फ्रीज हो गया लैपटॉप
क्या हो गया?
फ्रीज हो गया पता नहीं
दूसरा लैपटॉप है अपने पास?
नहीं है
अब क्या करोगे?
ओके यू कैन कनेक्ट दिस
मैं अभिषेक को मैसेज कर देता हूँ।
अरे बहुत सारे पेन ड्राइव्स कनेक्ट हो गए ना शायद किसी में वायरस था नहीं होगा
नहीं
वो करता हूँ ना क्या था आप कंट्रोलर डिलीट ही था टास्क मैनेजर कर ले नहीं होगा किसी में वायरस था शायद
इधर ही आ जाओ पीछे। नहीं है ना तो देख लो।
Good afternoon, respected dignitaries and everyone present here. We are from Harithkram College, mentored under Dr. Anna Senrang. I'm Isha Dagar.
I'm Mr. Mariam.
I am Amya Bhargav. Topic of our study is eco-spirituality in India. Eco-spirituality is humanity's connection to the natural world. The scope, the overview of our study comprises of eco-spirituality in ancient India and present India, aiming to identify the critical issues. Our research endeavors involved formulating research questions and hypotheses, and then designing empirical studies for validation of our research questions. Targeting Indian masses, target response approximately 500, study method through Google questionnaire, study duration over a short period of few days, analysis of result and conclusion to inform about our research inquiries and understanding eco-spirituality in Indian context.
Problem area and rationale. In ancient India, close connection existed between humans and environment. However, in the present, that connection has diminished, resulting in the environmental degradation at an alarming rate. One of the major leading factors to environmental degradation is capitalism. There is a concern for the environment. Life has become competitive due to capitalism. There is spirituality in everyone. However, there is no time for reflection. Using PubMed and Google Scholar search driver, We conducted a comprehensive literature review using the keywords spirituality and eco-spirituality, considering spirituality as a fundamental and intrinsic to eco-spirituality framework. Several studies have investigated spirituality and its connection to environmental consciousness, highlighting the potential of spiritual practice for effective conservation of the degrading environment. This area remains underexplored.
On the basis of this background, research question comprises of, firstly, what are the average level of spirituality and environmental attitudes in India? Secondly, what is the role of spiritual practices in shaping environmental attitudes amongst the Indian masses? Thirdly, is spirituality the key to effective environmental conservation? We hypothesize spiritual awakening is required. Spiritual awakening is the key to effective environmental conservation. To validate our research questions, empirical studies were designed, structured around three primary objectives. First, to evaluate the level of spirituality and pro-environmental attitudes in India. Once we determine the levels, we will investigate the role of spirituality in shaping the environmental awareness. Further, in order to validate our findings in first two objectives, we will determine the level of eco-spirituality in India and evaluate the influence of diverse spiritual practices. To achieve this objective, methodology that we follow, type of study, cross-sectional study in India, data collection through Google questionnaire. The questions were collected from articles of similar study. This is a link to Google questionnaire, which comprises of three scales: level spirituality scale, new ecological paradigm scale, eco-spirituality scale, personal interview, need-based, and then statistical analysis, which comprises of Cronbach's alpha reliability test and student t-test for comparison. List of primary and secondary data. All the data used in our study is primary data collected through Google questionnaire, and rest of the articles that we refer to in our study is mentioned in the reference section later. In order to achieve these objectives, qualitative, quantitative data along with demographic data was collected through Google questionnaire. These are few graphical representations of demographics of respondents. We have about 509 respondents from across India. 15 declined to proceed further. So data used in analysis from 494 respondents. Age group greater than 18 years. Belonging to varied major religions known in India and the world. Praying is the most common form of spiritual practice performed. Objective 1, to evaluate the level of spirituality and pro-environmental attitudes in India. Instrument, to achieve this objective, instrument was adapted from Omoya Javo et al. 2023. It comprises of 9 statements. First was to determine the frequency of spiritual practice, and rest is determine the level of spirituality. The scale uses 5-point Likert scale, ranging from always to never, scoring between 4 to 0. Overall spirituality level of all respondents. Frequency of spiritual practice was low with a mean score of 2.34 out of 4. Mean score of spirituality was obtained was 2.82 out of 4, indicating good level of spirituality. Apart from this, including this, we have a Cronbach's alpha reliability score greater than 0.9. Instrument for ecological outlook was adapted from Dunlap et al. 2023. It comprises of 15 statements. 8 odd number items endorsed new environmental paradigm, that is greater environmental concern. 7 even numbered items endorsed dominant social paradigm, which reflects a worldview where humans are deemed superior to other living beings. Total respondents' ecological outlook. The NEP mean index was computed with score reversed for even numbered items. The mean score obtained was 1.8 out of 4, which shows poor ecological outlook.
Objective 2. To investigate the role of spirituality in shaping the environmental awareness. In order to determine the role of spirituality in shaping the environmental awareness, we segregated the respondents on the basis of none, not engaged in any spiritual practice, yoga groups, volunteering groups, praying groups, mindfulness groups. The overall mean score for each group was equal to or less than 2.40. Using student t-test, we conducted a statistical analysis. We found no significant difference between the practicing and non-practicing taken collectively towards environmental awareness. Similarly, no significant difference was found among different groups participating in specific spiritual practices. Having found no significant difference, further we look at individual statements. We look at the mean score between the practicing and the non-practicing. Significant difference was observed in statement 9, 14 and 15. In statement 9 and 15, those engaged in spiritual practices have a significantly higher score than the non-engaging. However, in statement number 14, those not engaged in spiritual practices have a significantly higher score than the engaging. Also, comparison between non-practicing and those practicing specific practices for 15 of the NAP statements. In statement number 2 and 14, the non-engaging have a significantly higher score as compared to the volunteering groups. In statement number 9, yoga, praying, mindfulness groups have a significantly higher score. In statement number 10, volunteering have a significantly higher score. In statement number 12, yoga groups have a significantly higher score than the non-engaging. For rest of the other statements, that is the spiritual practice groups, the mean score was comparable to the non-group that do not engage in any form of spiritual practice. Coming to objective 3, to determine the level of eco-spirituality in India and evaluate the influence of diverse spiritual practices, the instrument was adapted from Suganti 2019. It comprises of 5 dimensions: dwelling, caring, revering, experiencing, and relating. The overall mean score for the level of eco-spirituality among respondents was found to be 5.64 out of 7, which indicates a good level of eco-spirituality. Comparison between non-practicing and practicing: yoga, praying, mindfulness groups have a significantly higher level of eco-spirituality, with praying showing the highest level of eco-spirituality. Volunteering, though not significant, still showed a higher mean score to those not engaging in any form of spiritual practice by 0.16.
Briefly to summarize, objective 1 to 3, total number of respondents were 494, out of which 86% are involved in spiritual practices. However, the mean score of frequency of spiritual practice is 2.34, which is poor, indicating irregular engagement of spiritual practices. Among the types of spiritual practices, praying is the most common form. The mean score of level of spirituality is 2.82, ecological outlook is 1.8, influence of spirituality on ecological outlook is less than 2.4, level of eco-spirituality is 5.64 out of 7, influence of spirituality on eco-spirituality is equal to or greater than 5.5. To supplement our quantitative data, we have added a few descriptive questions. One of them is spiritual practices more important to you than the conservation of the environment? 57% answered as both, 26% no, 14% yes, and 3% none. Overall, respondents generally agree that both religion and the environment influence each other. Another question was, do you see a way where spiritual engagement can facilitate a sustainable environment? Please explain. 92% answered as yes, 4% no, and 4% not sure. Overall, the respondents view spiritual practice engagement fosters appreciation and self-love, nurturing an understanding of nature's beauty and contributing to its growth. Considering praying as a form of religious practice and most common form of spiritual practice, we have interviewed a few followers of specific religions. Same question, is spiritual practices more important to you than the conservation of the environment was asked? These are their respective responses. Overall agreement was that both religion and the environment are interconnected. Non-harmful practices should be opted for whenever possible. Limitations to our study. The study sample covered only those sections of the society who are well versed with the English language, which comprises only a small section of about 18.5% of the Indian population. Conclusion: consisted with a hypothesis that spiritual awakening is crucial for effective environmental conservation, our study reveals a general lack of spiritual practice, which aligns with the generally poor perception of environmental consciousness among respondents. This finding holds despite the respondents generally scoring well on spirituality. Secondly, drawing from literature reviews, surveys, and interviews, this study suggests that spiritual practices, particularly praying, could influence environmental consciousness. However, religious institutions often overlook the importance of environmental conservation in their teachings. Difficulties encountered. Coordination due to participants being from different courses. These are some of the references. Last but not the least, we would like to thank everyone who have helped us. Our special thanks to the scientific committee for their valuable inputs in our progress and the successful completion of our study. Thank you.
We are open to questions.
I have one. The frameworks that you have used on this spirituality skills, were there any examples from India? And if they were adaptations made to cater for Indian population?
So they're not from India particularly, but the articles we have written, we have taken from those.
Yeah, so you made certain adaptations, right? To
Yes.
the states, but were the adaptations to our Indian population, particularly to Indian population gateways?
Sir, actually, the questions were related to like we have not changed the questions. That was same. Still, we have not
So
that
there are no changes made.
no.
Sorry for the disturbance, my bad.
Thank you, team. Since we are running a bit late behind the schedule, I request the teams, those who have done their presentations, to proceed for the lunch, and the teams which are going to present are required to stay here. The teams going for lunch are requested to come back as soon as they have their lunch. Our next team is from Vishwa Bharati University. They are Mumoni Sarkar, Soumi Ghosh, Srija Mandal, Swapnil Mondal with their mentor Dr. Sumit Kumar.
Thank you.
For the lunch, you are requested to move to the canteen area.
Hello everyone, I am Swapnil Mandal from Vishwa University. Our research topic is sustainable way of living in the modern world, examples from the Santhal lives. We are work under the mentorship of Dr. Sumit Kumar. Santhal is an indigenous tribal group, so we choose our objective very precisely. Our objective is to study the practices followed by Santhal people in the Birbhum district, West Bengal. And by meaning practices, we are mainly focusing on their building architecture, traditional farming, medical practices, and their relation with the forest. So, in the methodology part, our research approach is a qualitative research with a research design of exploratory research design. Our nature of data is primary data with a snowball sampling. We conducted some semi-structured interviews and we analyzes those data in a narrative analysis manner. Okay, so we visited two villages in our research, and those are Avinashpur and Nildanga Khoshkadambapur. We precisely choose those two villages, Santhal villages, because these villages are in the adjacent to the Vishwabharati University and the Shantiniketan tourist spot. So this tribal group have the touch of modernity in their life, but still they follow their traditional practices. So that's why we chooses those two areas. This is a picture we taken on the day of interview in Nildanga. So let's start with the lessons from architecture of Santhal people. So Santhal people have a very unique type of village setup. They always live in a community and they choose the land besides the forest area, and they construct or repair their houses mostly in the mid of February to mid of April, because that time in those geographical locations no rain can be seen, and they construct their houses in that manner that in every season the wind blows from north to south directions. Also they uses bamboos for making fences from getting security from the wild animals. Types of Santhal houses. So in our visit, we find some types of Santhal houses with a Chatam Ora, It Bangla Korakar, Jhanti Ora, Kumbha Ora, and Kotha Ora. These houses are made up of for different purposes. Like you can see the Chatam Ora umbrella shaped house. Those are used for meeting and gathering, and the Kotha Ora, the 2-floor houses. These houses are mainly used by the Manchi, means the headman of the village. And the Jhanti Ora and Kumbha Ora and It Bangla Korakor are used for their daily life, where normal Santhal people live. a unique architecture plan of their houses. So what we find there, that their kitchen, we found that very unique because the Santhal likes to cook outside if there was a rain, because in rain it doesn't mean to cook outside. So they cook outside of their houses because they believe that the smoke generated from the fuels they are using, like burning the sticks or dried leaves, are generated many poisonous toxic gases like carbon monoxide. So those gases, if enter their houses, that will give the uncomfortable situation. So they prefer to cook outside of their houses. And the windows and doors are also a very unique thing. In their houses they have no windows or windows in a smaller size, because in the mud houses it's normally cool in summers, and even without the windows, and due to the lack of window, it keeps hot in the time of summer, because the cold air cannot be entered in the house. And their worship place, they don't build any separate building or idol for worship. They worship under the open sky. They think that the nature is the abode of God. You can see here the open worship place, their Maran Guru. It's in a forest where they only just have the construction, not a building. So their way of living, they paint their wall, they maintain their wall, they paint their wall using natural colors which are extracted from khadi mati, tar, or blue and green leaves. These natural elements are also save houses from the insects, and they use cow dung mixture for smoothing of the wall. Now, lessons from the Santhal agricultural practices and their living pattern. So those villages, we can find the major crop is paddy, and the other crops is lentils, mustard seeds, and potato. Their seed sowing month is Ashar and Shravan, mainly the June and July, and they harvest the crops in the month of Ashwin, September to October. In irrigation, they primarily depend on rainfall, but now also they brought pump which help water to their agricultural field. They use a mixture of organic matters, biodegradable waste from household, and all types of leaves, neem leaves, bamboo leaves, cow dung, ash, straw, and other compost at a place and use as a manure in a field. Cultivating legumes plants, after paddy, farmers cultivated legumes which help in nitrogen fixation from the air to soil. And pesticides, they doesn't use the chemical pesticides from the market. They splashed water mixed with neem leaves as pesticides, and smoke of tamak means the tobacco leaves, because nicotine, a key toxin in tobacco, has a property which can kill few pests. Storage, they use dhaner morai or dhaner gola as a storage of their grains. They made it from the jute ropes and straws binded together. There is a picture of that dhaner morai. And challenges the farmers face that animals often enter and start to graze on agricultural field, which is the biggest challenges the farmer faces. So they sprinkle the mixture of water, cow dung, ashes on the plants, which has a very strong smell, so animals don't graze on those plants. Those Santhal people have a technique of water fixation. The Santhals generally treat their local ponds and water body by using a very unique method, which they make a solution by using paste of neem fruit and bark of mahua dissolved in water. And so that from there they can also do fishing. They catch small fishes, and not only small fishes, they also catch some oyster, crabs, and shrimps. So now lessons from the medical practice among Santhals. They use plant-based medicines which depends on the nature, and these practices are age-old practices, and they are affordable and also chemical-free. Those practices they are doing for ages, and they are still doing those. I have some charts of medical plants. It's difficult to explain those all charts in a small time, so I'm just showing you like they have a Vishahari which they use as a antiseptic plant by use its paste. The Santhal people mainly follow a plant-based diet wherein every part of plant is consumed. Means they consume the root, leaf, trunks, bark of a plant in a very various manner. Fuel woods, they collected the fuel woods from the forest, but they doesn't harm the trees. They collected the dried barks, dried leaves fallen in the ground, but for that they doesn't cut down the trees and dry them in the sun. So they collected their fuel woods from the forest, but they don't destroy their forest. And the forest product based economic activities. The Santhal are skillful artists. We can see their home structure. They are marvelous in that. So they collected the dried logs or small woods or bamboos from the forest and carved it and make it a piece of art and sell in the Shantiniketan tourist market, because that is the nearest market they can have the economy. But this is, I again want to mention that they have the art, they have the place to sell, but it doesn't harm the plants. They are not doing that, oh, we can collect more money, so let's cut the trees and so let's make more money. So now the pollution control. We learn or hear the term reduce, reuse, recycle. But in the case of Santhal, there is a lack of recycle concept, because when they using a thing, they use it in every aspect. Like if I give an example of neem, they take the neem fruit, they take the neem leaf to eat. So they use it in most of the thing, and whatever is generated like waste, they use it as a manure, fertilizer, and they are very much minimalistic in the use of non-biodegradable element. And so we can see that less amount of plastic waste in the Santhal area. We mentioned that, and it's really true. When we visit the Nildanga and Avinashpur villages, we can't see those amounts of large dustbin containing large amount of plastics, where we can see that there is some places there is manure where they are putting their wastages like plant wastages to make it a manure or fertilizers for their field. So they use a minimalistic life which reduce the wastage. They use it on the most consumption, so the reuse, and that's why they are not wasting the wastage. They are not that much in recycle. So now, future research aspects on the Santhal tribe. What we have done is unknown to known. The Santhal tribe, we all know about the Santhal tribe, but we find less data on the Santhals on the literature basis, especially on these places, Avinashpur and Nildanga. So we explored the time-tested age-old practices of the Santhal community and want to document it. We want to document it, their unique architecture practices, their medicinal practices, which is completely organic, their organic farming, which cut down the need of chemical fertilizers. So, and their relation with the forest, which I want to mention, because today we are doing more deforestation in the name of modernization. We are doing ecological destruction, but still they are living in a harmonical relation with the forest. They have that. It doesn't matter that they doesn't have that option. They had that option. They can cut down the trees. They can cut down the bamboos and make a piece of art and sell that in the market. We see that in the Sonajhuri market, the Shantiniketan tourist spot market, which I am mentioning. That is the bamboo, which is 1 foot idol or a piece of art, is selling on price of 10,000 to 12,000. So they have the option to earn more money to cut down the bamboo trees or the Sonajhuri logs or shal logs, but they are not doing that. So now the policy regulation. As in our research, we are not reviewed any of the policies made by governments. So we are not going to give any suggestions that government should do with these type of things. But what we can suggest that these people, this tribal group, these people are need to be more explored, more research need to be done. And on that manner, the government or the other agencies can can figure out that what they are needed. If government thinks that these people who have low carbon footprint in their area need to be given carbon credit, the government can do. But the important thing is more research need to be done on this aspect, on these people who's living for centuries in those places but not explored that much. Now, I want to end my talk with the reference for the modern world. In the modern world today, in the metropolitan cities or in the tier 1 cities, we are seeing the high carbon footprints, global warming, and those artificial environment. We needed the artificial environment because the temperature arising, we need more air conditioning, and that leads to the pollution. The CFC is released from, we learned in childhood, the CFC, chlorofluorocarbon, is released from the ACs, so we need to cut down. These people live in 42-degree, 45-degree centigrade temperature in those villages, but their houses are cool, like they are living in AC. So we can adapt their architecture for small cuts or wounds or some disease like cough or viral fever. We are run through the pharmacy for buying some chemical of artificial medicine, but we can try those plants, their processes for small cuts or wounds. I'm not saying for big diseases you who go for that, but also the plants they are using, the treatments they are using, that needs to be also research, and more research needs to be done. So what I conclude, that in the peak time where we are standing, where we can listen from news or articles that it's the time to move for saving the world. So if we want to save our mother planet, then we need to shift and think about their practices, and we need to more research about this. Okay, so these are the some references, and thank you for listening me. I'm open for questions. So, thank you.
It was a wonderful performance. Up next, we have the team from Shyama Prasad Mukherjee College, University of Delhi, with the mentor, Dr. Ankush Srivastav. The team members are Devika Bish, Rani Sharma, Shehnaz Rahman, Akshara Sharma.
A very good afternoon to everyone present over here. I, on behalf of Shyama Prasad Mukherjee and my team, would like to thank Center for Indian Knowledge System and Harithkram of BhagatSinghCollege for giving us this opportunity. Before going on, our presentation name is Tulsi as an Ancient Adaptogen, Unrevealing the Sacred Connection. Before we proceed, I would like to show everyone a short clip. As we know, we are living in that era where people have become fast and furious. This has made them more anxiety, depression, causing various kinds of physical drawbacks. And for that, people have become, for their any kind of circumstances, they go to clubs, have some kind of drinks for their own enjoyment. But from the next day, it is the same as before. For that, I, today, as a team, would like to present Tulsi, our goddess Mata, whom we have been praying since centuries, would like to and have her to relieve from such kind of hustle nature. Moving forward,
our objective of the theme is to unravel the connection between Tulsi and mental well-being of an individual, to revive the adaptogenic consciousness in modern life, and to bridge the gap between traditional wisdom and modern needs. Further, our research question of this theme would be, how does Tulsi plant function as an adaptogen, and what are its mechanisms of action in promoting stress resilience and overall well-being? Over to Akshara.
Our team has chosen a methodology that emphasizes both primary and secondary data. Coming to primary data, which refers to original data that has been gathered for a study using a variety of techniques like conducting surveys, interacting with practitioners, data gathering through telephonic conversation, Google Forms, and in-depth interviews. However, talking with the practitioners at Central Council of Research in Ayurvedic Sciences, as suggested by experts, offers insightful information, historical uses, and real-world application. Moving to secondary data, which has been gathered from various sources such as ancient texts and books, history books, research journals, articles, Google articles, and government websites, and ancient books such as Padma Puran, Briksha Ayurveda, etc. Now we have conducted a survey. With a sample size of 100 respondents. Our survey seeks to determine the degree of public awareness of the adaptogenic properties of Tulsi. Now we all can focus on this question, which represents that the younger participants has higher propensity to choose Tulsi as an adaptogen for revealing stress. Over to Devika.
तुलसी रसम प्रसन्नता मनो निर्मलं ददाति ध्यानं संपर्यतस्य वृक्षस्य जीवनं सर्वथा समृद्धितम्. This verse has been taken from Padma Puran and highlights Tulsi's role in enhancing mental clarity and joy. By nurturing and meditating on Tulsi, one can improve mental health as well as physical health, and that will lead us to a prosperous life. Moving on to the next slide, Tulsi's major chemical substances. Tulsi's adaptogenic properties stem from its chemical substances. Tulsi's adaptogenic properties stem from its rich chemical composition. Some of the key components are here: eugenol, epigenin, caryophyllene, ursolic acid, rosmarinic acid. These are some of the key substances which are present in Tulsi and help in its adaptogenic properties. These compounds not only give Tulsi its unique fragrance, but also play a crucial role when it comes to its healing properties. Just as the slok mentions, Tulsi Rasam Prasannata, these substances in Tulsi help in bringing a sense of well-being and happiness to those who use it. Moreover, the shlok's emphasis on Mano Nirmalam Dadati, which is purity of mind, can be linked to Tulsi's ability to detoxify the body. One such chemical compound is linalool, which helps in detoxification. Hence, we can say that the shlok's wisdom aligns with the modern scientific findings, highlighting Tulsi's holistic benefits for mental clarity, physical health, and the overall well-being. Moving on to the modern findings aligning with the ancient Ayurvedic concepts. Do you know that these modern findings, which we talked about earlier, resonate very much with the ancient concepts? In Ayurveda, two such concepts are Medhya and Vathara. Tulsi has been considered Medhya as it supports cognitive function and mental clarity. This aligns with the modern research that shows Tulsi has the neuroprotective effects and enhance the cognitive performance. Another word is Vathara, which indicates its ability to pacify the excess Vat dosh which is present in an individual and promotes the balance within the body. This aligns with the modern interpretations that Tulsi's warming and grounding properties help calm the mind, reduce anxiety. Moving on, we have some science, traditional practices.
तो एक बहुत कॉमन सा डायलॉग जो कि हम सबने कभी ना कभी सुना होगा, 2 पत्ते छत से लेकर आजा तुलसी के चाय बनानी है. So consuming tulsi leaves either in raw form or in the form of tulsi tea is a very common practice in India. And the reason behind this is its biochemical compounds that help in boosting immunity and protecting against the oxidative stress. Tulsi is also revered and worshipped in the Hindu culture, often planted in households or temples. Why? Because it emits antimicrobial phytoncides, purifying the air and calming the minds. This practice also fosters gratitude for nature and promoting the mental well-being and emphasizes the responsible use of natural resources. These findings suggest that Tulsi's ecological consciousness was already present in the ancient India, and that have the responsibility to carry this forward. Over to Rani.
When we were on our research journey, we came across some of the findings. Firstly, we came across cultural and historical significance. In there, we came to know that Tulsi is not being used now or will not be used then, but it has been used since the very beginning. Secondly, we came across some of the scientific validation, as Devika gave some of the scientific validation to it. It is said that Tulsi not only gives a fragrance to us, but it also gives some kinds of stress reliever, disease curation, and much more. And thirdly, we came across stress management and holistic wellness. In there, we came to know that Tulsi is a very good stress reliever. And in kind of very, not only stress reliever, but purification of mind. And when we do any kind of meditation, we used to use Tulsi beads. Moving forward, in our research journey, we came across some difficulties as well. Because when we went through the ancient texts, the ancient language became a kind of barrier for our findings, because the ancient texts were kind of old, and going through texts and finding the same source was not a very kind of presence for us. And secondly, we had limited sources which said that Tulsi is an adaptogenic compound. It was said that Tulsi is a compound, but it in signs of physical health, but not in mental and stress kind of. But in thirdly, we came across the late contemporary studies in where modern life is very much used to medicines, not to the impact of ancient Tulsi. Over to Akshay.
With the help of different programming languages, considering HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, we were able to design a website called Kafagni, which will help us to spread awareness and to bring back Tulsi's lost adaptogenic consciousness in modern India. Also, we have created an Instagram page which will help us to, with an aim to reconnect individual with the sacred heritage of Tulsi. Over to Rani.
So we have only come to the conclusions, and before coming to the conclusions, we have our future prospects. Apart from the adaptogenic qualities, as rightly quoted by Vanna Shiva, that Tulsi serves as a sacred reminder of our inherent connection to the earth and the importance of nurturing biodiversity in our agricultural landscapes, which brings to the 3 major pillars of Tulsi. The first one deals with the environmental sustainability. Apart from having just the health benefits or adaptogenic qualities, Tulsi also serves as a significant steps towards a greener and more sustainable future. Why? Because it has an ability to purify the air and modify the soil. The second deals with economic prosperity. As Tulsi can be grown very easily, it is cheap and cost effective. It can be in your garden or in the very empty space area. The third one is modern consciousness. Now this one is kind of critical because we have been talking about the ancient consciousness. But if we try to bridge the gap between the ancient and the modern, then there we exist the modern consciousness, because there is a need of bringing back to the Vedas, bringing back those ancient traditions where we have scientifically proven that Tulsi is not only limited to our gardens, but also to our mind and soul. Recently, I have gone to my hometown, which is Bihar, and there my grandfather said that बेटा तुलसी खाइबे तो मन और तन दोनों से सुख पाइबे, which not only talks about the physical health or well-being, but also the mental stability and the holistic approach of Tulsi. Moving to the conclusion, it is very improper to conclude all of our research findings and the whole proper research materials in few words, but it's before concluding we also have to thank our scientific committee members that highly influence refers to the three major suggestions. The first one dealing with the ancient text, as we have already mentioned, the Charak Samhita, Padma Puran, Briksh Ayurveda, etc. And the second one, we have conducted a primary and secondary sources data that adds more to the authenticity of our research paper. And the third one, we have visited to Dr. Sangeeta to the Central Ayurvedic Research Institute. So before going to conclusion, I would like to say that Tulsi has not only limited to a certain space, but it has an ability to transform our life, choosing over the chemical pills for stress and anxiety and depressions and other levels. So we have come to the keyword of the Tulsi, where T stands for therapeutic.
Stands for universal. LNS stands for lifting stress, and R stands for ingredients. Thank you.
We are open for questions and suggestions.
Thank you, team. Now let's welcome our next team. They are from Shaheed BhagatSinghCollege, University of Delhi, with their mentor, Dr. Charu Chopra, and the members are Himani, Ansh Gujjar, Vanshi Agrawal, and Surya as members.
Present क्यों नहीं?
Good afternoon, everyone. I, Ansh Gujjar, along with my teammates Himani Pawar and Vanshi Agrawal, under the guidance of Dr. Charu Chopra, present the research paper on environmental consciousness in Indian writing. We delve into the cross-generational landscape of eco-literature in India, showing a comparative study encompassing ancient and contemporary periods of Indian writing and fissures of cinema in relation to its connection with environmental narratives. An overview of our work includes the foundational sections, the analysis, and the scope for future discussion. The listed texts here were the focus of our conceptual and thematic analysis. The analysis is accompanied by the discussion in this field extracted from the works of other researchers to aid in the relative and discourse analysis. The direction of our analysis roots through the eco-feminist discourse and the dilemmas which are the reason for the complexity and the debate on anthropocentric and ecocentric approaches, which become central to our study of ecological consciousness. This consciousness is bounded by our emotional responses and learnings which we explore in these texts. The analysis of these texts digs at the questions which is at the core of our research. What is the nature of narrative about environmental consciousness in Indian literature? And how has it evolved through the changing times? In this link between ancient and contemporary conception, there were certain questions which we banged upon. The extent and influence of pantheism in our contemporary thinking, or is ecocentrism really better than anthropocentrism? Or how and why does nature play a role in gender studies? Is there a literary connection between human and nature? Broadly, our analysis to upturn these questions concerned with the underlying themes or symbols and textual comparison in light of their context and their portrayal, whether it is in the characters or shifts of literary devices. The analysis further includes the work of cinema in the issues of ecological balance. It follows the eco-feminist and scientific aspects of our literary works, while revisiting the anthropocentric versus ecocentric discourse and the eco-union with human psyche. Let's start with the theory of ecofeminism, which highlights the connection between gender oppression and environmental degradation by integrating feminine perception of ecological elements. It criticizes the patriarchal structure which subjugates both these aspects, aiming to build a more sustainable society. This theory bifurcates into the cultural analysis of their representation in our texts, led by tradition and is surrounded by the discourse of radical ecofeminism. What this means is, in our ancient texts, we come across a certain kind of kinship between females and nature, entirely based on the nurturing aspect of the feminine being. In Rig Ved, we come across Hiranyagar Sukt, wherein we find Hiranyagar, the source of creation of universe, suggesting a single creator deity. Then we have entire accounts of rivers like Ganga in our epics, which are constructed on the perception of female embodiment of rivers as the mothers of heroes, absorbers of sins, and nurturer of earth. What comes after these readings is a series of questions formed upon the subjective interpretations. Does this nurturing perception of females in association with nature strengthen the environmental movement by drawing a connection constructed upon the role of recreational and sustainer, by highlighting exploitational tendencies of humans held towards both of them? Or does it debilitate the feminist movement by the reaffirmation of certain prejudices about gender roles? Then we have modern legends in our fictions, like that of Bon Bibi and the Forest Goddess and the Hungry Tide, which respond to the reinterpretations of cultural identities of ecofeminism. Bon Bibi is revered as a provider and sustainer of the people of the Tide country and protects people from evil, as well as the dangers associated with the wilderness. Another response is in the cinematic representation of female embodiments of nature, seen in R.R. Prasad's Bhumika, who shows a fierce and nurturing alignment of nature in the development of human industries.
The duality is transferred in the myths as well. An amalgamation of gender roles is seen in the transformation of Shikhandi, sanctioned by the spirit of forest in Devakaruni's The Palace of Illusions. This transformation leads itself to two interpretations. One, as showing the fragility of gender restrictions, but a second layer behind this, that is the prejudice of the weakness of a female in comparison with a male, which incentivizes Shikhandi's transformation. In the depiction of this power imbalance is the humanization of the exploitation of females and nature. In Anita Desai's Cry the Peacock, the cabaret displays the exhibition of dancers, an exhibition heightened under the literal depiction of contortionist visually mutilating herself. And similarly, a bear dances and looks itself tired in the exhibition of a hunger, a visual appeal exploited and thrived upon by capitalist audiences. Exploitation becomes a tendency, especially in the context of environmental degradation. It is as if abundance of resources transfers into unlimited exhaustion of those resources. But as we take a look at the ancient scientific view, the distinction between use of resources and exploitation of resources becomes stark in the reverence held for their productive use, rooted in the advanced understanding of laws of nature, be it astrophysics, mathematics, medicine, or biology for that matter. Our ancient texts talk in detail about the cosmos. The texts even go as far as to hint at the theory of relativity and time dilation. However many times do we find these intricacies of Ayurveda and the construction of a being in Veds? Even in the fantastic tales of Ramayana or Mahabharata, a guide of reverence towards these resources is seen in their use. The next section of our research focuses on the discourse around anthropocentric and ecocentric approaches. Anthropocentrism, in its very essence, is a human-centered perception, where human interests, values, accomplishments, and well-being is put before other elements of nature, whereas ecocentrism stance is more nature-centric, emphasizing the interdependence and connectivity of all living forms. Our research delves into the narratives within Panchtantra and the epics
highlighting the discourse on anthropocentric and ecocentric viewpoints. An anthropocentric view extends to the tales, where animals are imbued with human traits to teach moral lessons. This approach not only limits our understanding of wildlife, but also our understanding of wildlife to the perceived utility, yes, but also to the risk projecting human morals onto animal species, often portraying them in negative or antagonistic roles. This narrative underscores the relationship of humans with nature, shaped by utilitarian values and the anthropomorphic interpretations of wildlife. If we talk about the contemporary texts that we have, through these poetic works like the Royal Ascetic and the Hind, in our ancient ballads of legends of Hindustan, reflects on the question about the comparative value of human responsibilities and presence in both human and natural worlds. Similarly, Amitabh Ghosh's The Hungry Tide delves into the complex moral territories, exploring the conflict between human settlement and wildlife conservation in the Sundarbans. Its narrative questions the ethics of prioritizing wildlife over humans, highlighting the absurdity of criminalizing traditional livelihoods like fishing and farming in the name of conservation. The novel also addresses the dire consequences of human-wildlife conflict, where impoverished victims of animal attacks are ignored or criminalized for defending themselves, raising the question of whether animal lives are valued more than those of marginalized humans. The Hungry Tide also illustrates a reversal of naming conventions, wherein the islands are named after colonizers, instead of divine or ascetic figures as we see in our ancient texts, highlighting human self-centeredness. Moreover, the legend of Bon Bibi, who saves a man from a tiger, illustrates a changing relationship between divinity and nature, from a close association to divinity being invoked for protection against nature.
Our last section brings forward the harmony between humans and nature. Literature sometimes originates from emotions inspired by nature's effect on humans, or it employs nature as a backdrop for characters' emotions. This section begins with the creation of Shlok by Valmiki, marking the beginning to Ramayana, where human emotions are expressed through nature. This expression is vividly illustrated in Kalidasa's most famous play, Abhigyan Shakuntalam, portraying emotions like Shringaras or the budding romance of Dushyant and Shakuntala through the marriage of Jasmine and Mango Tree. This symbolism is also channeled through Toru Dutt's Arkasuarina Tree from her collection Ancient Ballads and Legends of Hindustan, depicting nostalgia, memory, and childhood loss through memory's lens. The synergy of humans with their environment shows their extending coexistence, shaping each other's lives accordingly. In The Hungry Tide, a striking synergy emerges as fishermen and dolphins collaborate to catch fish, demonstrating mutual survival strategies. The novel also explores how language mixes across different places, likening a river to the human tongue, highlighting their shared essence. Often in times of stress, people seek the solace of nature's lap. This sentiment is presented through Draupadi's turmoil in the Palace of Illusions, with her experiencing loneliness and breeding resentment. She escapes from the fold of nature, dreaming of gardens and orchards. Indian texts encompass a duality factor, where the certain elements showcase a fire side as well as a nurturing side. In ancient texts, Mahabharat's Yudhishthir and Ramayan's Ram were lauded as "O bull amongst men" and "O tiger amongst men," perfectly reflecting such harmony. This theme is further illustrated in the Nal Damayanti tale, where a snake nearly causes Damayanti's death but also aids in Nal's liberation from Kali's curse through the serpent Karkota. The Palace of Illusions by Chitra Banerjee challenges traditional views of Brahmins as solely wise sages to suggest a dual perception that includes potential exploitation. This duality extends to nature, portrayed as both nurturing and destructive. Karvi Hava, a film by Neela Madhav Panda, showcases this through the story of a village transitioning from prosperity to drought, highlighting the complex relationship between humans and nature, where the same rain can mean salvation for some and ruin for others. Further, we also see this duality in The Hungry Tide by Amitav Ghosh, where the novel highlights the duality of tide acting as a sustainer of the people in tide country, as well as a force to be reckoned with during cyclones. Myths and legends give many dimensions to contemporary gender studies in relation to the environment. It questions the reaffirmation of gender stereotypes in today's world. The text also gave us an insight about the emotions of characters and the plot, representing the psychology of humans. They further see certain trends revolving from ecocentric to anthropocentric views and to ecocentric viewpoints again, finding a middle ground. Through our entire journey, our realization tags the understanding of the union of environment and humans, when nature is a mirror existing alongside the reflection of a polarized existence. The questions put forth as a dilemma in a paper provides the space for further scope regarding the value of a human with that of nature, or whether the representation of gender in nature is prejudictive. Another their differences and their similarities. The difficulties that we encountered were largely regarding selecting and limiting our resources, meeting deadlines, how to make a concise analysis which made us learn about structuring our analysis, upturning and reconstructing it to remove our own bias. The suggestions of the panel helped us make a concise idea of our foundation, specifically the narrowing down of our text and the nature of our analysis, for which we thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job, team. Now the teams which are done with their presentations can go to canteen for the lunch. Up next, we have the team from Hansraj College, University of Delhi, with the members Ravneet, Diksha Singh, Vishnu Upadhyay, and Ashmit Kumar.
Good afternoon to one and all present here, to the esteemed panel of judges, to my fellow competitors, and to the respected organizing team. We are the team from Hansraj College, University of Delhi, are here to present our research work titled Reviving Traditional Wisdom, Exploring Ancient Texts for Modern Insight on Medicinal Plants and Safeguarding Against Harmful Species. With the help of ancient textual analysis, historical research, ethnobotanical studies, and contemporary scientific perspectives, this paper is authored collectively by Ravneet, BSc Life Sciences, Zoology Majors, Botany Minors, Diksha Singh, BSc Life Sciences, Zoology Majors, Chemistry Minors, Vishnu Upadhyay, BA Program, Economics Major, History Minors, Asmit Kumar, BA Program, History Majors, Economics Minors, collectively mentored by Dr. Harmeet Kaur, who is currently an Associate Professor at the Department of Computer Science, Hansraj College, University of Delhi. It's quite an multidisciplinary team, and the table of contents that we are going to cover are listed. Over to Diksha.
Now, talking about our research, so our study dwell into the rich repository of traditional wisdom found in the traditional text regarding the use of medicinal plants and substances through a multidisciplinary approach encompassing textual analysis, historical research, ethnobotanical studies, and contemporary scientific research. Now, this study explores the therapeutic properties, cultural significance, and societal attitudes towards the medicinal plant. And after that, by bridging the gap between traditional wisdom and modern sciences, our study aims to inform the contemporary approaches to healthcare, substance abuse prevention, and cultural preservations. Now, talking about the scope and the objectives, so our research scope was to look into the religious scriptures through a multidisciplinary approach and historical research, and to analyze the societal attitudes towards medicinal plants. And our objective was to find the strategies for safeguarding against the harmful effect of plants that we have analyzed thoroughly through our ancient texts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diksha. So I will be taking on. So when we come to our research endeavor, we had a lot of questions going on. So we have listed 4 primary questions that we dealt with throughout our research endeavor. The first question was about the references and interpretations surrounding psychedelic substances in ancient Indian texts. So revolving around all the ancient Indian texts, which we will discuss in detail, we were able to extract several references, and we were able to even extract several interpretations that were commented by secondary historians and scholars in order to document those references and interpretations to have a holistic approach towards our study. The second question of references to regulation of such psychedelic substances. So I would like to cite Sri Guru Granth Sahib in this scenario. In the 16th century text highlights the need of regulation of such substances. So in light of these psychedelic substances, we try to evaluate the references to such need of regulation of such psychedelic substances. The third question was regarding modern scientific overlap with traditional wisdom. So we aimed to have a multidisciplinary approach. So to solve that, we had to incorporate the scientific methods in our traditional wisdom, and for that we approached through our scientific methods. The final question was regarding potentialities of recreational or leisurely use in the ancient Indian context. Let's move to the next slide.
Now, I would love to talk about the methodologies that we had during this research. So, first one was the selection of ancient text. We had gone through a lot of text regarding research, like what should be our, what should be our like goal, or which text should be used. So we extracted the details of 100 species used in Ayurveda found in 10th century text, that was Dhanvanti Nigantu. And after selecting all those 100 species, we extracted the information of medicinal plants. Now, we examined the use of these species in modern science, and we highlighted its biotic information. Now, after getting all those biotic information, we categorized the gathered information into beneficial, harmful, and ill-regulated substances. After that, as I've mentioned, that we documented 100 species in ancient text, and after that, हमने 100 species से we collected or we shorted down to the to 8 species. Like हमने 8 species लिया, and after that, in our research we have jot down or focused in two species specifically. First one is cannabis, and second one is datura. Now, after that, after gathering all the information, we analyze the historical perspective, and then we trace those perspectives from ancient text to modern one and formulate a general hypothesis.
All right, let's take a look at our sources. So our primary sources included popular sources like Arthashastra, Atharvaveda, Sushruta Samhita, and some less popular sources, I would say, like Rasatantra Sar, Dhanvantri Nigantu, and Rajavallabha. All these texts encompass and from ancient India to early medieval till the 12th century CE. And now let's talk about the secondary sources. We had a plethora of literature review to identify the various interpretations that were going on behind these references. So we had the famous History of Therapeutic Cannabis by Michael Aldrich to analyze cannabis, the roots of Ayurveda, history of ancient and early medieval India, and other sources that are mentioned here. Like for Dhatura, we examined R. Gita's famed article, Historical Evidence of Pre-Columbian Evidence of Dhatura in the Old World and Implications of First Millennium Transfer from the New World. This article emphasized on Dhatura's historical perspective analysis, as well as it also accounted for various symptom-based approaches by Ayurveda. Let's move to the next slide.
Now, our research findings. So first one was the cannabis. So about the cannabis, when we focused upon the negative impact of cannabis, because our research was only, to focus like what are the negative impact of those plants, so that we can save our coming generations. So the negative impact of the cannabis, so it has its effect on memory, cognitive function, mental health. It impairs our muscular coordination, and it can also, lead to the problems in respiratory if we keep on smoking it again and again.
All right. So we performed a historical perspective analysis of cannabis, encompassing these four texts: Atharveda, Rajvallabha, Sushruta Samhita, and Dhanvantari Nigantu. We can notice a very delicate pattern, or a very delicate pattern in which a delicate way in which these texts interpreted cannabis. For example, in Atharveda, there is a reference to cannabis being one of the 5 god plants, noting how cannabis was supposed to be on a very top pedestal in plant worship and in Ayurveda, in Rig Vedic rituals. We know that we see a transition from that attitude towards Rajvallabha, which talks about its medicinal properties. So we can see that from Atharveda, which was primarily focused on religious traditions, there was a more detailed focus on medicinal aspect of cannabis, as highlighted in Rajvallabha. And then we can see that it is more evidently given in texts like Sushruta Samhita and Dhanvantari Nigantu, wherein Dhanvantari Nigantu, which is essentially a lexicon of all medicinal substances that were used in Ayurveda during 10th century, 11th century, and it is a compilation of all those substances. In that also we can find a number of references for cannabis, in which it also highlights the possible toxication properties of cannabis apart from the medicinal use. Next.
Now highlighting about Dhatura. So what we have got to know is Dhatura, that is also known as ginseng weed. So it has many powerful hallucinogenic properties because of the high concentration of tropane alkaloids that is present in Dhatura, and that is the phytochemical. Now, if you keep on consuming it again and again, so what are the effects it can have on you? Includes hallucination, confusion, agitation, rapid heart rate. You can have dry mouth, blurred vision, urinary retention, and even coma if you keep on doing this again and again. Additionally, it can cause addiction and physiological effect on your mind. And also, now talking about the atropine, that is the chemical that is present in Dhatura. So it binds competitively to the muscarinic receptor that blocks parasympathetic neurons, and if it will happen, so it will have literally a lot of side effects on your body. And if you keep on taking its doses, so it can affect the cardiovascular system, that can cause a rapid decreased heart rate.
All right. So for Dhatura, we examined around 6 texts, and this is also attributed to R. Gita's analysis of Dhatura. Most of that was taken from R. Gita's article. So we can see that in Arth Shastra, it is mentioned as it is mentioned for leisurely purposes. It is even mentioned that Dhatura should be added to alcohol to enhance its leisurely properties and to have a more pleasure experience. So from that we can trace its interpretations to Kama Sutra, which is mentioning its use for aphrodisiac properties. And then comes the Charak Samhita, where it is attributed to medicinal, it is also given medicinal attributes to it. It is also being advocated that it can be used for a number of medicinal issues. So, and then finally, in the Sushruta Samhita and Ashtanga Daya and Dhanvantari Nigantu, we can finally examine that Dhatura is being highlighted for its medicinal as well as part toxicating properties. So with the now let's next slide. Yeah, what I was talking about is the evolution in perspectives through history, which we have highlighted in these 4 points, which is our conclusion as well. So first, as we can see over time, there was a shift in perspectives, a shift in interpretation over these texts. This highlights the increase in Ayurvedic corpus over years. And this even gives us a clue over how these perspectives were changing very gradually. Now, as we saw in both the cases, that as Ayurvedic texts were increasing in their number, it led to a number of cases where they were being attributed to medicinal, as well as their toxicating part was also being attributed to them. So this also highlights changing social dynamics, which resulted in increasing need to regulate markets, which is also highlighted in the 16th century text, that is the Guru Granth Sahib. Now I would like to give it to Ravi.
Thank you, Vishnu. So when we talk about its future approach, we are inferring that there should be adoption of Ayurvedic methods for drug addiction, because Ayurvedic, in 10th century Ayurveda, there was a thing we call as bitter leaf, which was being told to consume daily on a daily regimen of dincharya, while in the 16th century text Guru Granth Sahib, it was strictly banned. So there was an adoption of Ayurvedic methods, and we were also being told by the panels of judges to investigate. So the reason for this was the dosage. In Ayurveda, it was told to consume in the minimalistic dosage, which will not really cause any harmful damage in a short run. It can be a probable substitute for the synthetic drugs, because synthetic drugs are being sold nowadays by saying 100 times more stronger than cannabis, 1,000 times more stronger than cannabis. So if you are going towards 1,000 times more addiction, it's better to go by a unity method rather than 1,000. And there's a scope for further research in many other Ayurvedic document species. And a foundation of this species, I will discuss it further. Nevertheless, we have faced some challenges and hurdles, textual analysis challenges. Basically, there was challenges in the textual analysis due to the language barrier, due to the interpretation barriers. There was an interdisciplinary integration, because we need people from ethnobotany, we need people from life sciences, we need people from Ayurveda, historians to analyze the shift. We need access to the resources. Some resources were paid, and lodging and financial limitations were also being imposed due to the rare manuscripts and the archives. Data analysis and interpretation, the data is quite robust in nature. Validating the traditional knowledges was also difficult, because what we have done was to validate the traditional knowledges by a scientific modern method, because it was ancient India then and now. Ethical consideration, if let's say to us anything was being imposed as ethical consideration, we were being offended when certain biopatent on our indigenous knowledge was being imposed. So if we are offended with it, we are not really going to do about it. The feedback from judges in response to the feedback, first was to incorporate the positive perspective of the drugs as well, which we have really looked forward via the historical perspective. The second was exploring additional resources. So to enrich our resources, we have look for additional historical text and references. And third was an enhanced focus on Dharmantri Nigantu, which was a feedback by Monica ma'am only. So we have really done the analysis of the Dharmantri Nigantu as well. These are all the references. This is the database which we have initially created of the 100 species. The last one are not really being shown, because that's what I was talking about, the foundation for a new research project, because there were certain species which are not even being documented pretty well. And there's a further there's a good quote that before even we are recording our biological wealth, the library is being burned down due to obviously our anthropogenic activities. These are the 8 intoxicated species of which references which we found, which we have shortlisted. And these are Gudushanedi was the first chapter. The second was Sarpush, Chandanaidi, which we have also discussed in the previous presentations as well. Due to the time constraint, this was all about, but let's continue the conversation with your queries, if any. Thank you.
Any projections?
I think we'll move on to the last team, because we've already taken the time.
Thank you, team. Last but not the least, we have the team from Kalahandi University with the mentor Jharna Rani with her team.
Shall I keep it on the dice or it's comfortable?
Shall I start?
Namaskar to one and all present over here and happy Earth Day 2024. Respected jury members, the SBSC organizing team of this conference and my dear fellow participants. I, Lopamudra Sahu, first of all would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude for giving Team Kalahandi University this rare opportunity to come Delhi and present our research work based on title Ecological Consciousness as Living Tradition Among the Tribals, a study of select myths of tribes of Odisha before all of you. So, as you can see, the title and name of our presenters in the slide before you all, and the name of our presenters are Ayushman Rath, Bright Prasad Bagh, Lopamudra Sahu, and our mentor, Dr. Jana Rani Bhangra Majhi. Coming on to the scope of our research, the first scope is the planetary crisis impels us now to shift from subjunction of nature towards the cultivation of nature, a new human adaptation to the natural world. Planetary crisis. So we are facing, with the people of Odisha are facing planetary crisis nowadays as the form of global warming and heat waves. That's why our government is taking a decision of keeping our schools and colleges closed till the last of our month May. Coming to the second scope, indigenous knowledge system and practices can help us humans to cultivate this prehistoric yet newer ways of sustainable lifestyle, maintaining an overall balance with the surrounding environment, ensuring the survival of all species and using only the amount needed, avoiding waste and depletion of resources. Coming on to the third scope, it can be part of curriculum from degree level to higher level of research. Okay, moving on to our objectives. There are four objectives of our research. The first objective is to study how nature or environment is represented in Dongriya myths of Kalahandi district of Odisha. Coming on to the next objective, to explore why and to what extent and degree these myths specifically related to nature and is represented in the image of Niyam Raja and Dharni Penu are selected, practiced by the Dongriya as living tradition. Coming on to the third objective, to understand whether or not there is any science to these myths and if at all, what kind of science it is. Moving on to the fourth objective, to find out if Dongriya people are ecological conscious or not and how is it manifested in their living tradition. Coming to the next slide, what are our research hypotheses? Our research hypothesis is in Dongriya myths, nature is paradised and revoked in the religious sense, but we hypothesize that there is also science to these myths which can be called ethnoscience, and that science is governed by four principles or ecological consciousness and is practiced as living tradition by the Dongriya even today. So what do you mean by ethnoscience? Ethnoscience is a scientific method of understanding an ethnic community's perception of various facts of life. Coming to the next slide. Okay. Research methodologies which we have used in our research work. First, review of existing literature on indigenous knowledge system and ethnoscience. Second, close reading and textual analysis of the myths of Niyam Raja or Khandwal Mali and Dharni Penu as documented in various elements, tribal myths of Odisha. The third one, qualitative design to find out to what extent and why these myths are practiced by the natives and what is the governing philosophy behind it. Coming to the next slide, this one is our research methodology part 1. According to Majumdar and Chatterjee, indigenous people view both human beings and nature within a prolongated ecological family that reflects ancestry and origins. Similarly, Timothy et al., Murphy, Grievous and Datta have stated their comments, which you can see in our slide. Okay, coming to the next point. According to Tango et al. And Van Opster and Hugh, the indigenous way of perceiving natural elements as distinctive cultural practices over an insightful human-environment relationship and environmental sustainability. So on, it is given by the statement of Stewart, Majumdar, Chatterjee and Tango et al., which you can see in our slide. Now handing over to my friend Bright Prasant.
Thank you. So, research methodology part 2, a close reading of the Dongria Cons myth. Here is a brief introduction about the Dongria Cons. So, the Dongria Cons is a primitive subgroup of Cons. They live in the Niyamgiri hill range in Odisha state, and they worship the mountain god Niyam Raja and his wife Dharni Pelu, the Mother Earth. And yet for a decade, the 8,000 plus Dongria Con live under the threat by mining of by Vedanta resources, which hope to extract the estimated $2 billion worth of bauxite that lies under the surface of the hills. A close reading of the myths of Niyam Raja and Dharni Pelu. So, according to the Dongria Cons, they believe that the Niyam Raja, a mythical god king, they have created the Niyamgiri range of hills, and the earth goddesses whom they refer to as Dharni Pelu. Also, they consider them as their ancestors. Now, the textual analysis of the myth. The Niyam Raja, also known as the Khandol Mali and Dharni Penu myths, underscore the importance of Safagana, also known as the Giri or Mali mountain state in Dongria Khan's life. The Safagana mountain state presents the total reality of the environment, earth, land, water, tree, vegetation, interdependence of man and animal created by Dharni Penu, the Mother Earth. Mali is a combination of Jibit and Goyat. Goyat means the having a life and a growth factor, and Jivit, Jivit with having a life factor and a life, and Goyat with not having a life and a growth factor. Niyam Raja or the Khandal Mali dictates the laws about how the Safagana or Mali should function. Farming in God's ways. So there are two ways: the Podu cultivation and horticulture. And ethic and stewardship of land, it refers to not only the right to use the resources of Mali, but the duty to protect it with their life of foreign invasion. The place of worship of Niyam Raja and Dhani Penu must not be violated. Now, the textual analysis of the myths. The concept of Niyamgiri or Khandol Mali is developed on the basis of the ethnoscience of place boundedness. It is described by Tuan, and which is primarily by four factors: ecological consciousness. The first one is the cultural identity based on the permanence of the land. The second one is the emotional attachment to the Mali. The third one is the green economy or green livelihood from the Mali. And the fourth one is the opposition to any destructive change of the ecology of Mali threatening their culture.
Now, I would like to discuss the third research methodology. So for this, we perform a qualitative research on the two villages of Kalahani district. One of them is Suknavata and another one is Khondwan Mali. For this, a total of 40 participants is between 15 to 65 years from both the villages interviewed purposively. So the participants were mostly divided into subgroups like female and male based on gender, Suknavata and Khondwan Mali based on the urbanization, and young and old based on the age group. Now, I would like to discuss about the primary data analysis. In the Dongria Khan village of Khondal Mali, 100% participants that we spoke refer to the hills as the life source of their lives. And secondly, 100% Dongria Khan of Khondwal seems to see the forest itself as an endless source of possibilities. Thirdly, 100% participants of both the villages sees the Niyamgiri Hills as owned collectively by the Dongria Khan and all other Adivasi group is irrespective of their present settlement. Then to the Dongria Khan, Khondwal Mali is the Niyamgiri Hills seem to be the very center of their cultural identity. And we asked an elderly Dongria Khan, female about 65 years, if there were, she said, if there were no Dongria Khan left in the hills, we wouldn't be Dongria anymore, as our culture, identity revolved around this mountain. Another female, approx about age 40, said, our song, dance, tradition completely revolved around the Niyamgiri Hills. This statement indicates a strong relationship with the mountains, as if the women are experiencing the very existence of the Dongria Khan is defined by the mountains. Now, I would like to discuss the ethnoscience or the four governing principles behind the ecological consciousness. So, the first principle, the long-standing permanent presence of the Dongria Khan in the Niyamgiri Hills. A Dongria Khan male once said, we have lived in these hills so many years that we cannot count them and tell you how long we have been here. Sort claims that animists are more comfortable with their whole environmental context than worshippers of sky gods who have abundant sacred associations with trees, rocks, and rivers. In that case, Dongria Khan and the religion tightly bound to their place. Another Dongria female once said that Niyam Raja brings them everything as people, he blesses them and makes them who actually they are. Their religious attachment to the mountain is also clearly visible in their arts, architecture of the Dongria Khan as triangular shaped representing the mountains occur in 4 instance wall painting and weaving in the villages. Now I would like to move to the green livelihood and green economy. The Dongria Khan's belief in the sacredness of the hills is rooted in a strong dependence of natural resources that the mountains provide to them, and they took great pride in the fact that they could live self-sufficiently and self-sustaining life, which the Niyamgiri Hills have provided them. For the Dongria Khan, the Niyamgiri Hills appears to entail mutually reinforcing triangle of livelihood. Now I would like to move into the fourth principle. So opposition to any destructive change which can threaten their culture. One Dongria Khan male said that we have seen what mining does to the land and we do not want happen here. Another female was very concerned over the risk of increase of sexual harassment to the Dongria Khan women if the mining would be allowed to proceed. So the choice of an economically independent and self-sustaining lifestyle without developmental help from others can therefore be interpreted as informed and rational-based ethnoscience. Next, I would like to move into the conclusion. So all the Dongria Khan believe in a cosmic vision that look beyond the market-based approaches. And the Dongria Khan females emphasize the right to remain in voluntary isolation rather than in territories from extractive industries or dams. And lastly, all the Dongria Khan emphasized on their sacred duty of to protect the Niyamgiri Hill and forest from external forces. So here is the picture of the village where we have gone and asked the people about their lifestyle and culture. In the first picture, it is the one of the difficult terrain of Khondwal Mali. In the second picture, it is a Dongria youth who is protecting their Niyam Raja, their god, with his bow and arrow. In the third picture, it is Niyam Raja who is being worshipped. Next, I would like to tell you the difficulty that we actually faced during this process. So reaching to these remote areas was a difficult task for us, and where vehicles even can't enter. And then Kui language was difficult for interview, which needed an Odia interpreter first and then to English. And thirdly, not having a computer or laptop is a huge problem in documenting the research work. Yet it is the conviction that some on-air stories are needed to be here, and believe some ancestral life stories or myths can show us a more sustainable path to the future that led us to come so far and present the stories before you. We are just the connecting bridge between this and indigeneity and modernity. Thank you. I request for your valuable feedback and thank you.
Good job, team. Now I would like to thank to all the teams. I would like to invite our jury members if they want to share their valuable insights or suggestions. Thank you. Now I would like to take the opportunity to extend my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who has contributed to the success of this event. First and foremost, I would like to thank all the participants and their mentors for their sincere efforts and dedication. I want to especially acknowledge the presence of participant teams from outstations. I want to thank our esteemed jury members for taking out time from their schedule and gracing us with their presence and sharing their valuable insights with us. Your contribution have truly enriched, made it more memorable for all of us. I would like to acknowledge the efforts of other team members, acknowledge the support of all the attendees, and thank them for gracing our event with their presence. With this, we come to the end of the technical session 2. Now it's a break for lunch, post which we can assemble here after the lunch and for the panel discussion and the valedictory session.
So the participants and the mentors who could not join us for lunch, please proceed to the canteen. And the jury members, our students will escort you to the principal's sir's committee room. Also, we are running behind schedule, but we will reassemble at 2:45. We'll start the panel discussion at 2:45. All of you can join us from the back door. Anybody who's coming late and joining us for panel discussion, use that back door and join us. Fine? Thank you, everyone.